Hello, hello. My name is Jarek. I'm the CEO of Archon Studio, and welcome to my seventh, I think it's the seventh now, live stream. Okay, today's we got quite a lot to talk about. I've got some dates for you. I've got definitely dates for Fields of Eternia, roughly dates, and as well, I see the question come up about the Battlegrounds other languages. I also have the answer for that one for you. And yeah, and also we're gonna be talking about the wargaming. And there's a project we have been working for years now. With a project we've been going, it's happening basically, but we never will get our head around it to actually push the massive green button and say, yeah, we're gonna actually manufacturing and making it, because there were other things happening in the background, and we needed to, let's call it, build the right foundations for our plastic injection to get that project up and running. But we're gonna get there. So as always, I've got a few slides prepared for you, so let's beam them up. Okay, we are. Okay, there's a few announcements about the new releases. That's the sneaky peek for the new release of Wave 2 for Battleground. This time around, we heard you, we listened to you. There was some requests regarding the casual play and some more map varieties and some more potential missions to play the game and winning conditions. So without giving away a lot, I just wanted to show this picture. As you can see, we move a little bit to Britannia. There's a new map, there is a new model, a new mode, and also several additional cards. I hope you're gonna be equally happy with this release as you were with the previous ones. There is more to that one. Obviously, our team is going to be working on more. Well, within next weeks, you should have much more information on our blog in details about what this mode is really and how you play it and why it's great. The release is actually October the 6th. We're planning to release this one during the Essence Spiel, so it's going to be available in all the languages. Yeah, just one of the questions which came up was about one of the questions was about the other languages release for core game and the first wave. We've got information from the supplier. There was a massive issues with the supply chain again with the materials, but in general they're gonna be with us on 12th of September, so we will have all the core components, wave 1 components and wave 2 components available very, very soon for other languages. I mean, this is the Spanish, French, and also Italian. I can see here down the bottom I missed because I say it's available in English, Polish, German, Espanol, and Italian. I missed French. Obviously, it also will be available in French language. So yeah, the other languages shipping will happen very, very quickly. Well, very soon. One of the questions is are there several dinosaurs in the box? No, just one. It's a one massive model, well, large model. This is the scale model. I've got it here. It comes with the base. So you get also the hex base. There is quite a lot of terrain inside. I mean, you don't see that on the picture here, but I've got a spruce here. Very heavy terrain, very large. So as previously, you're gonna get 4 spruce of terrain. There's new rules for terrain. There are some rules which for the new terrain which they're using the core rules which we didn't have previously. So difficult terrain. And yeah, well, I'm not going to be spoiling. There's a more to that one. You will see in the next couple of days, well, next couple of weeks on our blog when the guy's going to be ready to release that one. The price point we're looking at roughly, I think it was $40-something. So you get almost the size content of the size of the box, the core box, but there's less minis. Obviously, just one miniature of Dino and the special rules. But there is a good number of cards, terrain, new map, new rules, new map setup, and everything else. So around about $40-something. I think it was $49. But don't quote me on that one yet. Sorry. In general, we're trying to not to go with some crazy prices because, well, obviously we shouldn't, but you know what I'm saying, yeah? We're trying to put the right price tag to our products. So the core sets were relatively cheap compared to anything else in the market. We're looking at $18 roughly per set. So we're gonna be staying exactly at the same level. We're not trying to go any more crazy with those things whatsoever. That's the wave 2. One of the questions which came up regarding the Master of the Universe is how about organized play. We are really working on the organized play. We have nominated one person from the business, Kamil, which works currently with our design team. He's going to be fully and 100% dedicated to any type of organized play. This will be announced on the next live chat. So within 2 weeks, you're going to get direct email to Kamil. You can always send email to him. It will be updated on our page. And any type of tournaments you want to run, contact us. We will be able to support it, and so on. There's a couple of things which gonna change in terms of the way we want to introduce organized play. This means if you want free rewards or any type of that, it needs to be run through the stores, your local store, or any type of organization, which is like a club, and so on, or charity. Only because we need to donate those things to those places. We cannot just ship randomly free stuff to anyone. We just have to we can do that, but we have to do that properly. This means properly send it to the legal entity. Yeah, that's only one thing which roughly has changed. Sorry for that. My phone just rang. Apologies. Should be on silent. Happens. Okay. Next releases. This is also for the October the 6th Essen Spiel. Obviously, all those releases will be available on our online store very soon, so you're gonna be able to go and get them. Obviously, Tanfolk's miniature pack, 62 miniature packs. It's going to retail. This is the thing which we have shipped obviously to backers with the Woodhaven, but we haven't offered this one on the encounters. So whatever wasn't on encounters is actually going to hit retail. So that's one of those things. It's 2 miniatures less than it was on a Kickstarter. There's a reason for that, but the tiny sprue with 2 miniatures was not included in that one just due to costs. The price will be available soon, so but I think it should be around about something about $59 roughly. It's 62 miniatures, so quite a lot. And you got lots of miniatures, lots of variety miniatures there. You got city guards, you got all the citizens you need for your games. The 28 millimeter miniatures, by the way, right? Let me just check with the questions. Will there be 2 wave 2 boxes? Good guys. No, wave 2 is actually just 1 box. Wave 2 is for everybody, so it's basically terrain and cards, and there's nice, extremely good, I think, casual play mode. So not everybody needs to get it. If you got friend, you can share it with it, and so on, so on. The other release for the next month is also the Ghost Dragon. So the Ghost Dragon, which wasn't offered during encounters, it's now going to retail, and it's going to be available next month within the same price as our other dragons. So we're not going to increase any prices whatsoever on that product. Okay, let's move on to Encounter Spurs. We've made a lot of stuff. You have seen on the pictures. If you haven't seen the pictures, I'm happy to actually show you those things. We made trees. I'm super surprised with them how they actually push fit. This is kind of first trial my team did. I'm very happy because they were left alone and without my supervision on doing push fits, and they did fantastic job on it. Absolutely fantastic job in terms of push fits, how everything assembled. And that was actually first try to make it a proper push fit, which is exactly the same as GW. And we have now nice process. This means at some point, some of the miniatures we're gonna be releasing in the future, they're gonna be easy assemble. This means they're gonna be proper push fit, like you have those miniatures for Underworlds, for instance, when you just open the box in a store, remove from the sprue, push fit them, and you can play with them straight away. More trees. And also today I just received another sprue with the swamp tree. So we have that done, and so we are currently in the delivery plan. Also, what you have not seen it is basically the spruce for river. So we've made one sprue, and here is the second sprue. Now I'm only showing you briefly them, like, you know, there's no point of showing you full detail. They are exactly detailed as any other products we have been releasing in the last couple of years for Dungeons and Lasers. And only the one reason why, because we ship them to painters, and they're gonna be our painter is gonna be painting the sprues for us, and the product we can show you in a full glory. But we also made them in a color, so that is the lava one. And how everything assembled, I've got one here assembled just quickly to show you how the size of it. I used the black clips. Obviously you're gonna get, I think, clear, but this is the size of just one sprue. I think 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4 pieces. So that's one sprue. You get, I think, 4 of them. So that river will be huge. So absolutely huge when you assemble it. And that's about it in terms of sprues for, excuse me, for encounters. And I should have more in the next couple of weeks. So as always, as usual, I'm gonna be sharing stuff on Facebook and then on our Dungeon Lasers fan group. So if you're not there, just please join it. And yeah, that's for the encounters. So we're on track. The question is about bases. This question is coming back coming back constantly, and we did that for encounters. We're not for encounters, for the Woodhaven when we had a base pack. The plan is also make it for encounters. Yes, we haven't designed the tooling yet, although it meant to be a kind of priority, but we haven't designed it yet because we focus on a few other tools for encounters. And at this stage we cannot even tell, or we don't really know how many tools will be in a pack, so we cannot put the price tag on it. So that's one of the reasons why we don't have it there. And at some point when we're gonna be ready for showing you or designs or or anything else about it, the basis, we will talk about it on the updates, on the game found updates. So sorry for that. I promised to have this one on in the Pledge Manager, but I hope we're gonna be able to introduce this one halfway through. The Pledge Manager was open at the moment just for the rapid shipping, so later in the process you're still gonna be able to add it, I believe. So shouldn't be any problem. But again, we need to make sure that we have the costs right for them, and we don't want to overshoot either way. We don't want to, you know, put too expensive or too little, too cheap. Okay. Here we go. That's the good news. There was a question, so here we go. Yeah. Now regarding camera, I'm gonna go quickly to a few questions. No, maybe the first one from the top. Well, in terms of actually releasing DNL into retail, we're not releasing anything which wasn't shipped to backers. That's the one thing. That's the primary. So we finished shipping Dungeon Lasers 3, sorry, and we select a few products which were available for retail. Some other products we have offer it on the encounters, and are gonna be available only on encounters. We don't know how much product will go into retail. There is a reason for that. Is our portfolio of products is growing, and if we were, you know, adding all the stuff, all the products we have currently, which is around about 150 different injection tools, the distributors would not order it from us. They were just, you know, we were very, very picky about it, what they want to order. So we have to also be careful what exactly we are getting released to retail. We're not cherry picking. It's just pure sense with not shipping something which wasn't shipped to the backers. So that's regarding that question. In terms of the NL system in general, the NL system, we have been releasing some other stuff which wasn't offered on a Kickstarters or GameFound, which were the Paizo, the bits with Paizo we did, and the line will be growing. Not fast, but it will be growing slowly. So at the moment we're trying to spread out a little bit of our release schedule into quarter blocks instead of being releasing every second month, because at some point some issue happened with the the supply chain, and then we have to miss the boat or miss the release for one of the group of the products, and then suddenly we have, like, in 1 month 2 products, and then the same month towards the end we announce another product, which again, it's not good for the retail as well. We need to tell them this is what is going to happen, and that's what we're going to be doing. Okay, and yeah, sorry, let me just go up with questions. What dream? I cannot tell you what dream game would like to make, because of is we might be doing it. We actually might be doing it. My dream game before I die, it's a wargame. It's basically wargame. This is what I'm gonna be talking in a second. It's wargame. I'm the wargaming guy. We have many people in our company. We have huge fans of board games which hate wargaming. We have huge fans of RPG which hates both things, board games and war games. I am the wargame person here, and it will be wargame. And well, yeah, I hope I'm gonna be talking about this one in a second. The idea behind this, what exactly I want to make. Yeah, I know Derek is a great guy, absolutely great. Can you please make camera focus that we have in your hands a bit bigger? We will be fixing this camera thingy in the next couple of live chats. So we will have this separate camera set up with the focus, just to make sure I just put the sprue there and you can see it or model whatsoever. Today it's not a day of showing off a little bit. I'm just want to show you just briefly, because you're gonna have much better quality pictures on the Kickstarter updates. So I'm doing only sneaky peeks. I'm only allowed to do sneaky peeks. Let's say. Okay, the question is, when is it only for the feats of attentive? Okay. I'm back on the presentation, right? So mass production started. We've started in September now. Right now it takes 55 days production. We only going to be manufacturing what is needed for Kickstarter. This is extremely important. So we cut the dates as much as possible to make sure we only gonna be making the numbers we need for the Kickstarter fulfillment, not retail. So we moved retail. Feats of Eternia will be released next year in retail. This is very important, because if we today decide to actually make more production for retail and maybe push the dates and release straight away once you have the game, it will generate an additional couple of weeks. So what we did, we spoke with manufacturers, said, look, we only need a 6,000 quantities or 6,500 quantities for the Kickstarter, no more. Okay, so yeah, you might hear something that we've been asking our distributors to give us roughly the numbers they want to get it, but as I said, this is all changed now, and we're pushing the dates for the next year only because we want to get this game ASAP to you, ASAP to us, and ASAP to you. It's already delayed. This is not the situation we wanted to be in, and yeah, so September, October, this is production dates. It takes 30 days for shipping. Actually, it takes a little bit less than 30 days for shipping, but we put 30 days just in case if everything needs to go through customs. It will have to go through customs, but as it will be the last quarter of the year, it might be showing a 1 week delay because of the number of stock which is coming and needs to be cleared. So that's November, and then December is the shipping date. So at the beginning of December, we are going to be shipping. Is there any room here? Yes, about 2 to 3 weeks maximum room. The manufacturer will do the best they can to reduce that 55 days of production time to maybe 40, 45, something like that. But we will see what we can do. We will keep you updated on the production, but I'm happy to announce that mass production started. the fastest way we can get it. We are doing we're taking the shortcuts, all the shortcuts possible. Well, shortcuts are not very good, not always, but we're trying to take the shortcuts as much as possible to actually get it to your hands. So December will be the date when we're going to be start shipping. So, and then obviously from our place to you, it takes roughly, I don't expect this one to be any complex operation that we have the Wolfenstein unassembled pledges. We managed to ship 2,000, 3,000 pledges in a week time. That's roughly how much we can do. The Dungeons and Lasers takes longer because I did explain in the previous live chats, we have to pack individual boxes and boxes inside the boxes and inside the boxes. So that process takes time. Here, no, we just take from the shelf in a box, off you go. That's on the Master of the Universe. If you're going to be at Essen Spiel, please visit our stand. We will have there the prototype displayed, so you can touch things I mentioned about the quality and the miniatures. You can play with them and so on. So visit our stand at Essen, please. Right, the wargame. So that will be about, let me just check some questions maybe we have here. I need to operate my laptop. Yes, we have some. Okay, let's have a look. The Italian Fields of Eternia, French, everything is manufactured at the same time. We're not making English and then later on any other languages. Everything is made at the same time. Everything will be shipped at the same time. This is also kind of delay because, well, it is and is not. You save money when you actually make everything at one go, but it generates a couple of days or maybe a week more on manufacturing. For those of you who works in the printing, they know that when you print cards, for instance, there's only one plate which is dedicated just for the language. So just once you print the cards, you just change that one plate to different language. And that's how they've been manufactured. If you want to manufacture just one language, and this is the mistake of many other Kickstarters, when they just say, okay, we're going to be doing English now, and then 6 months later, we're going to give you other languages. The cost going to be skyrocketing, absolutely skyrocketing, because then they have to start and set up machines again. You pay for the setup of machine. So it's roughly like $13,000 you just have to pay just for the pure setup of the printing machines and everything around it. So if you make everything on one go, it's much less setup, right? So yes, everything, all the languages at the same time. We not delay any language whatsoever. Thank you, Shimon, for answering. French version for Mortal Battleground. Yes, on 12 September, we should have all the materials. We're going to be releasing this one as well, ASAP. Yes, it's supposed to be in July. Correct, yes, it's supposed to be in July. That's true. It's supposed to be in July. Many things went wrong with it, and one of them being that we thought that the way we're gonna be translating everything will work, and it wasn't. We need to go back and forth all the time on translation. So it's better sometimes to delay something instead of releasing the game and then sending you 20 pages of FAQ. Sorry, but we're not at this stage at level to actually do that. So for us, it was better to let's go back and double and triple check everything. And we actually found some mistakes. They needed to be corrected. Yeah. Will the Aliens game go into production game? No. No. Chronicle X or AVP. Okay, let's talk wargame a little bit. Today I want to talk a little bit about the wargame. Kind of boring. I'm not talking about the rules. That's gonna be talked about in the next video because we don't have much time. We already lost it 23 minutes. Not lost it, but we already 23 minutes in. So it means I just want to have focus on the several things and explain to you one of the major red flag we see with the game. And it would be great if you give me some comments about it. What do you really think about what I'm going to be showing you, right? Why I'm talking about that is Every single game which going out there nowadays is roughly copy of other game, let's say, right? So let's face it, most of the war games are very, very similar to each other. Many people don't want to move away, and some other people don't do any kind of market analysis to understand what exactly they want to do, and they just go there thinking that, yeah, I'm gonna hit the market, I'm gonna be bigger than Games Workshop and so on. That it doesn't work like that. We just have to try to find the nice spot, and for people to actually get into the game, and then maybe expand it on that one, or offer some additional option with the game that will allows you to play the way you want, roughly. Yeah, so if you want a mass game, fine, our game is designed to be a small skirmish game or whatever, but it's scalable. But as far as I know, this scalable doesn't work. 40k people, if they want to play 40k, most of the cases they will play a mass battle game, although the book offers a small games as well, 500 points, 1000 points. Nobody wants to do that. I mean, the option is on the table, but you focus on the main thing. So let me just move on and show you the things. Okay, just answering the question about aliens. We've made miniatures for aliens, that's correct, but this is BF9, Battlefront 9 to be GF9. Guild Force 9 to be asked about that game. I cannot tell you whether we're gonna be reprinting miniatures for them or not, remaking them at this stage. They had some questions about it, so I guess maybe it will be back in production. Okay, what we have here is the main suspect. So I've made few slides for you. This is like simple one-to-one business, just to show you exactly how I see the market in terms of wargaming, and where I think we should go, and the reasons behind this one. Right now, some of you might not agree with those things. I do understand. Everybody might have different opinion about it. I'm only structuring this one around looking at the meta, looking at the competitive play, looking at how everything evolves and how people play the game, how many miniatures I see on the table, and the results from the competitive play game. So what I mean by hard to learn and hard to master is, and why some of the games are very hard to learn and hard to master, is that the games in general, if you put a lot of complexity in the wargaming, it might cause that it will be difficult to learn, because I need to learn my codex, I need to learn my army, how my army plays, all the pros and cons, and then I need to go and learn exactly the opponent's army. So in some of the cases, like GW, you got 12 codexes, plus on top of that, the books, additional books, and Forge World stuff, and everything else around it, and then you have the several additional layers of complexity added to the game, which makes extremely difficult, hard to master. Now, in one side is good, on other side is not good. It is kind of good if you don't look at the scene, the competitive scene, and you don't want that scene to be rewarded for their mastery. Okay, so what I mean by that, if you look at the competitive scene for the game, you will see that the scene is keep shifting. So you don't see the same people who mastered the game to be on top 10, top 20, and it only shows you that there is a huge factor of unbalance, randomness, or extremely difficult to master the game, and that's what I'm talking about here, right? So you see that number of people keeps changing in the meta, and then on the top spots, and then you will know something is wrong. So put this one in a real sport. It's like you got the footballers, like you got Lewandowski, top-notch guy who plays amazing, and it will be like in one season he's on the top one, and then in the next season he's on the bottom list, which never happens. He mastered it, he knows, he's good at it, so he should be within first 5 the best footballers worldwide, right? So the same story here. So that's one of the reasons why I put Warhammer, for instance, War Machine, and the Age of Sigmar on the right hand side, which is extremely hard to learn and hard to master, and then easy to learn and easy to master is on the left hand side. And You can see that one by X-Wing. X-Wing is extremely easy game to learn, extremely easy even to master, because then you can see those people who master it, they keep coming back as a first spot, second spot, third spot in the national tournaments. Okay. Y-axis is the number of miniatures. So that's the number of miniatures you have to use. Well, hold on one second. Let me just use my mouse here. So this is the number of miniatures. So we're looking at the small number of miniatures and up to 40 plus miniatures. So you have a lot of miniatures and hard to master. You have not that many miniatures and easy to master the game. So that's what about. So this is where we want to be. We don't want to be easy to learn, because to make the game which is like X-Wing, it's almost impossible. That easy. Not when you have a 3D terrain and have to use vertical terrains for the miniatures. It adds additional complexity to the game. Not if you have the X-Wing is what it is, only because it's limited with the number of the factions they can actually release. So to be fair, this is the spot I would be looking at. So I'll be looking at moving the game which includes about 30 miniatures, 20 to 30 miniatures per side, and also with the level of complexity of the game which sits roundabout between the Battletech and the X-Wing. Now there's a kind of, I'll have explanations later how we can actually get there, right? So the reason I'm showing you this one is not because of the core game will be like that. I will show you the tool which allows me to actually get the game there, right, to that level. So, and if top 5 rules, complexity, drivers, issues, so that's what I think is wrong currently in the wargaming. So it's not like we can fix it. It's the things we should mainly focus. So top 4 things we really have to focus on when we're going to be fully, or when we design the game. So it's a number of available factions and their unique rules. That is crazy. So rules on top of the rules in some of the, what is even sometimes crazier is that we have some of the games you have the rule which is exactly the same rule, sounds exactly the same, does exactly the same, but the name of the rule is different because of it's assigned to different faction. That doesn't make sense, right? I mean, yeah, because we would then operate with the name of the rule when you play on a table, but we both talk about the same, right? That doesn't make sense. And so something which is out there, we look at it, and I think that should be improved. Alternate activation balance, that is must go, but not the way you would be, expecting from us. And again, I'm gonna be talking this one in a second. Lack of data tracking, that is the shortcut which many company takes when they design games, right? When you see a word game on a table, you don't really want to see tokens, right? You don't want to see, some tokens on tokens, wound tokens, and everything else, because at the end of the day, it might turn that you have more tokens on the table than actually miniatures, right? You don't want to mark something. You don't want to go through, through all those things. But it is so crucial in creating a good war game to have some kind of data tracking, that without it, you cannot make a good game. You will end up with something extremely not refined, let's say, and it will be not interesting, right? You cannot create a great game variety with no data tracking. I mean, X-Wing or Legion, both games, they have a lot of number of tokens in a game, right? You place a lot of them. Same for the Fallout. GW games, not that much. They don't use that many tokens. War Machines in some cases, right? I think I found completely different solution to that problem. I'll show you in a second. And a point of no return. What's the point of no return? Point of no return is something which I absolutely hate. I used to take part in many 40k tournaments. I won several of them. I won tournaments in War Machine. And the point of no return is a moment when when you play the game, or when you know that you actually won the game or you lost the game. I'm losing all the excitement about the game just because of at this moment I know I won. And in some of the games, when the game meant to last 1 hour and a half, you're 30 minutes into the game and you lost it. It doesn't matter what you will do, because this is you cross the point of no return. You cannot basically do anything else. The point of no return might even start it at the beginning of the game. Just imagine you create your list, right? And you bring your list to the table, you set up your miniatures, you start playing the game, and you just look at the enemy list, and he did something which is just purely designed to counter your list, maybe accidentally, but he did not. Then you know basically that this is the point of no return. I'm gonna lose. I've got maybe 20% of chance of winning the game if I'm lucky on my dice. Otherwise, I'm gonna lose the game. But yeah, the percentage are there. Right, tokens for right now, Shimon. Tokens are not for life. Tokens are not very good in the wargaming, because you have to operate with physical models. You move your models. You have a bunch of models, and you have sometimes 30-40 models to move around it. And with that, you also have to move the bucket of different type of tokens, and they got lost, they got misplaced. Sometimes you forget about them, sometimes you forget to remove them, sometimes they overflow, whatever, you lost them. You have to buy a new box to have tokens. No, tokens are not good for wargame. We have to focus on non-token game. We have tokens, don't get me wrong, we do have tokens in our game. The Battleground, which was released, has some tokens. We have limited the number of tokens just to two main ones, which they are Overwatch and Mana. This is the two most important tokens we couldn't remove, but originally the game has had much more tokens in there, so we just cut a number to bare minimum. Here we can do something slightly different. So we have another slide showing that this is again Mass Battle 40 miniature scale, and this is the skirmish game, 5 or less miniatures. And this is basically looking at how people usually play the game, or they have the ability to play the game in the way of, you know, the game, how designers put together the game for you. So narrative play and a competitive play. GW is very good about it, right? No doubt about it. They're leaders, they know what they're doing, they know exactly how the market works. They know that majority of the players are not tournament players, and that's one of the reasons why they sit here. They make extremely great games, but they're not balanced, right? I mean, if you know what I mean, if you play narrative play, it's extremely difficult to find the correct balance for the game. And also, fortunately, the narrative play falls exactly in the same place in missions. So if we want to make extremely narrative game with missions, it will be very difficult to actually balance the game with this kind of approach, right? So this is where the game sits at the moment. X-Wing obviously is very competitive. Fallout is, you can play solo missions, you can play solo games, so it's very, very narrative. Same for those games here, because the missions you have to play, this is where they sit. Now, for me, one second. For me, this is where we want to be. We would like to be on very competitive side of play. We would like to be, which means we're not gonna be canceling in any way narrative play. Narrative play is extremely important just for the audience, for the people who doesn't want to play any competitive because they don't feel it that wargaming should be competitive scene. Yeah, this is where we want to be. Now, there's a couple things which I want to also talk, and this is a few things which I don't see. I see as an anticlimax competitive play. So obviously balance. So balance is one of them, which I mentioned before. The complexity of the game also ruined the balance, because once you have extremely complex game, it's very difficult to balance. The rules complexity sits there along with the balance. Mission heavy oriented plays, this is what I mentioned just a few seconds ago. So if you got a game which is extremely mission oriented, it's not, in my opinion, should be 80-20, and this is what we want to get. 80% is pure competitive and 20 should be the narrative play, where in most of the games we have currently, they mainly on mission based oriented games. They hit and miss, right? Some of the cases are missions, like something I haven't mentioned is what we did in the Battleground is you have a set terrain. We tell you we tell you for the competitive scene how you should set up your terrain, how all the bits of terrain should go, because of we wanted to introduce this one as a we will give you balanced game, balanced terrain, including as well the terrain. So this game I'm talking about here, we're going to be working on, it also includes the same stuff. So we will have a set terrain for you. We will tell you how exactly the terrain should be set. Either it's going to be on terrain or terrain we will provide in the box. But we want to make sure that if we're going to introduce any missions, they're going to be equally good for both parties, and then you can choose either to focus on the mission side of it or you focus on the pure combat side of it, right? So terrain and one more time terrain, pre-game roster building and point of no return. This is exactly the other point which I mentioned about it, that the pre-game roster building and point of no return, they both combine, right? Because once you start the game, you will see that you don't have an option to actually counter your enemy, or if you have a small option to counter your enemy, if enemy is clever enough, he will eliminate that counter in the first round, and then basically second and the third round you're gonna be sitting there on your phone because you know you're gonna lose entire interest in the game, because you know you have lost it. It's just basically how much you're gonna lose the game. So we want to eliminate that factor, and there is kind of way of doing it, and I will show you, and I hope you're going to be able to comment on that one and tell me what you think about it. So let me just go back quickly to the questions, because I see there is a few questions coming up. Tokens are okay when you use no card or something, or not the battlefield itself, Timo? Yes, I maybe partially agree. I'll show you what exactly I want to propose. Last week you had boxing with the side sleeves should fit, but it doesn't look like the height of the this is the sleeve thingy, and the size of the cards which should fit, it's coming from the manufacturer, so they told us they should fit. We haven't tested. I will test this one this week, and I will have the pictures available for you on the updates when we're going to be doing next updates for Fields of Eternia, because we've been promised, or we've been actually told that this is how it will work, right? Okay. Right, let's go back here. And the last one was the gaming space, the table size needed, floor space, and floor space for the tournaments. The floor space is extremely important nowadays. In the UK, you have very, very small stores, which they will like to facilitate as many people as possible to play the game. It's kind of difficult to actually achieve this one if you have a massive game, you know, the large table, 43 hours game for each of the tournaments. So something which needs to be implemented is basically playing a small table, but we still have to find a way of actually introducing those 40 miniatures and so on. So again, we're looking at the mass table 40 miniatures scale. We're looking at the table size required for the game. Now, as I mentioned before, yes, you may play 40k on a small table. Yes, you may play X-Wing even on the bigger tables. This is basically the core. So the core, I mean, this is how the designers want you to play the game, right? Now, if you see that in 40k, some additional rules which are off the main rules, this means, yeah, they give you option, but majority this is how they want you to play. So they want to play on a large table, 44 by 90 roughly, and the table we're looking at is basically 35 inch by 35 inch. So in other words, it's actually kitchen table ready. So this is the game which could be played at home with no additional investment in a large scale table, and this could be played even 2 games on normal size, the store table normal size. So like you've seen people playing the X-Wing, exactly the same principle. So I'm trying to put there roughly that size. So I think if I just click it, one sec. Yep. So this is where we're looking at, and I just put down something here. We can achieve this one with 50-50 start to reinforcement approach. Now this is the first flag, I hope not red flag for you, that we've been testing out something. When you play the game, you have a 50% of your force which is fixed, so you build your army only up to 50% of your points. Remaining 50% of points are not bold. So you bring what you have, you then it allows you to do a couple things. One is, I mentioned about the point of no return. So if you know at some point you don't have anything to counter your enemy and the game stopped being interested to you, you might always bring, because we allows you to bring additional 50% of anything you have in your army back into the game, which brings you to the level of, okay, I do have a chance, because, you know, we are just, as I say, we are eliminating the point of no return with that. 50% means also that the game itself can be playable very rapidly. So you may lose some forces and then you bring back again on the table the forces. So the table, it's not like clogged up with the miniatures on the table. So you have that 50 and 50. Now, the way I'm explaining you 50-50, it's not actually 50-50, but this is something which I'm going to be explaining when we're going to be talking about the rules, how you actually getting those 50% extra additional of your forces back on a table. This is something which is not in any of those games here. You may say, well, 40k's got the reinforcements, but not in the way we want to introduce this. 40k tells you you have 2,000 points army, you may use X amount of this to be your reinforcement, but you have to have the list ready. Here, we don't want that. We want to tell you got 50% and then 50% bring anything. And if the enemy wants to surprise you, you might surprise your enemy on a table. If you get too punished because of you have built your army wrongly, we will allow you to bring, you know, more reinforcements to carry on your combat and still give you a chance to win, right? So the point of no return, it won't exist in this game until you get literally really bad dice rolling or anything else. But this is kind of reducing the point of no return. Okay. Do we have anything here to talk? Questions? No. Okay. So that's the way I would see that. How we're gonna do it, again, I'm gonna mention this one later in the next week's videos, because there are rules explaining how exactly you can bring those reinforcements and so on. Now, the very important thing is that we're not going to be working or building a list per se. So you're not limited to what you want to bring on a table. If you want to play 50% of your army with only vehicles, here you are. You can play with it. Now, you may say that's crazy. Okay. If you see the rules, once you see the rules, we will explain to you, I will explain to you exactly why this is good and what's the risks associated with it. So the vehicles countering the other vehicles or heavy units, where they easily being countered by something which is mass units and so on, because you are unable to remove a number of the units quickly enough. But this is something for the next video. I don't want to get too into it. Okay. And then obviously top 5 things which doesn't make, they're exactly the same as previous one. So the mission heavy oriented plays and pregame and point of no return. So that's how we want to remove that. So the issues. A number of available factions under unique rules. What I see as a good example is something I've been, in my opinion, obviously, you might have different good examples. If you have, drop them in the comments. But that's my personal opinion about the good examples. And a good example is, for me, is X-Wing factions with available in the War Machine Hordes. I'm talking here about the 3rd edition or 2nd and 3rd edition, not the 4th one, which has been just released. You have several core rules shared between the factions, and that's how the War Machine did. The War Machine, you had, when you look at the books and every other books of other factions, you could see exactly the same rules along different units. So there was a small variety between them. This is good because it's extremely easy to explain to anyone how the game plays, right? So I've got this unit, you've got that unit, my unit is doing exactly the same as your unit, but your unit additionally can do this or that, you know. So that's one of the things. Our take is minimum 4 factions. That's limited number of available models and rules. We've got to have 4 factions to start with. We cannot have 3, we cannot have 2, we cannot have 1 faction, obviously, to go on the market. Why? Because there won't be no much, with just 2 factions, there is no big variety of models, miniatures, and the game might not pick it up straight away. So in order to game to pick it up, there needs to be lots of options, and those options are extremely important. Then 80% of rules shared between the factions. So we will have a bunch of the rules which are created as a core rules, and then you have those rules which then shared across the units, and then 20% of the faction unique rules, and I have this asterisk I will show in a second, and a unique take on damage. So something which will be slightly different for each of the faction is how the way to take damage. I will show in a sec. Sounds complex, but it's not. Alternative activation here, exactly. Couple good examples. I think the bolt action back with a activation dice, when you pick a dice and see what kind of action or who actually activates. It's kind of interesting, but it's very extremely unique, extremely random. Semi-solution for Age of Sigmar close combat phase. This means when I go, you go. So we fight. I select a unit to fight, you select a unit to fight. This is good, but it's not good enough. It's not good enough. We can do better. And then here I added just each squad has selectable in secret initiative value, and that can be activated at. Now here asterisk, because this is all combined with something I gonna be talking in a second. Then we have a lack of game data tracking. This is what I mentioned before. None. The good example is none. Basically, I cannot give you a good example of using tokens, because who wants tokens, right? Our take is unique plastic multi-dial system. Yes, this is what I want to talk about. It's on the next page, and it's not a gimmick. So you probably have seen in few of the games something like that, and it really felt. I played the Fantasy Flight game, and they have released, I forgot the name now, with the dial token, which you have to set up your unit to different parameters and so on. It was a gimmick. You could do it without it. There was basically no need for that to be there in the game. And this is maybe one of the reasons why it didn't sell very well. This is why people see this one as a massive red flag, because of, wow, it's complex, why we need that one. And I will explain to you in a second why we need that one, because we don't want moon tokens, we don't want activation tokens, status tokens, Overwatch tokens, and the token for token. We don't want that. We don't want that. Okay, this is something I designed. This is version maybe 3 or 4 or 5. We've been playing with it. It looks it's not finished, right? Okay, it's not finished. It's just something I did in a plastic injection because I had a few minutes to design it. I designed it, and we've been playing with this one and testing the game, how it works, and it is working very well. I'm gonna go through step by step every single box just to explain you quickly and the reasons, right? So if we talk about that, this is the how many dice I have to roll per model, normal dice and power die. Normal die, power die will be explained later. It's all around d6. So, but we will explain later why we have 2 different type of dice. You can use 2 different colors. You can use 2 different shapes, whatever. There needs to be different. You have 2 type of dice, and you roll equal number of dice per equal number of models you have in a squad. Okay, so that's simple. Then you have faction special. This is the factor for different faction, depending how faction takes damage, depending what faction can do additionally. This is that 20% of difference between each of the factions I was talking about in the previous slides. So looking at this example, that was actually made for Navo. We come up with the idea that Navo cannot use chrono shards to cast basically spells, and in order for them to cast the spells, they need to split blood. So once they start taking damage, so this is the fluff thing, when they start taking damage, they became more kind of powerful in terms of using psychic powers, and they receive like 3 additional dice to draw actually cast the spell. So that was the special for that faction. Now that special might be different for different faction. I'll explain you in a second when we're gonna be doing when we go to the box. Each faction takes damage differently, but in a second. That's the squad remaining wounds. So we know how many wounds squads got, like remaining wounds. Once the squad takes damage, you just basically rotate the dial, and it tells you straight away how many squads got remaining models. Why this is extremely important for the squad remaining models? Because we can make absolutely different factions with different way of taking damage, something which hasn't been done in other wargaming as far as I know. And maybe the warjacks and when you say predator press, you got warjacks, they take damage differently than normal squad. But this is unique to and used across all the armies. So imagine now that we want to make a squad of zombies, which we have sculpted, and we want those zombies to be very, very resistant or resilient to any type of attack. So we're gonna give them 20 wounds, but that doesn't mean you're gonna remove a model every time you're gonna take wounds. You might remove first 10 wounds before you start removing any single model. So that's for the undeads, vampires, for any other faction which we feel that it needs to be not maybe strong in terms of armor or whatsoever, but needs to be strong in terms of the way they play with the wounds. So they can regain, the squad can regain the wounds, but not necessarily needs to place additional models. You will have that option. Now the same goes for a faction which I'm going to be talking in a second, Proms. They have a force field, right? The force field regenerates, right? So the force field is regenerating all the time, constantly. On every beginning of the round you can spend some chrono shards to actually increase the shields. So same here. Before I remove any model, I just remove the shields from the model. So I don't need any tokens. Otherwise I will have to have some tokens indicating that, yeah, I've got this, I've got that, and it needs to constantly place different tokens, and then you end up with 5-10 tokens. No, you have everything on a dial. Now I call this, and you cannot see it, it's alternate modifiers. It means that any of those modifiers here on the list might be affected by each other, which means for the different factions we can do something else. We can say if the squad has like only one model remaining from whatever, its stats goes up here, because that's what the fluff says. The fluff says that squad, it's now in rage, and because of its in rage, it's got much, more dice or better chance to actually attack and hit. It gives us many options without asking user to go check in a book or check in the battle tome what exactly is happening at the stage. You have this one in front of you. You know exactly what's happening. Your enemy know what's happening. You don't have to remember any rules. You have them on hand. So that's one of the important aspect of introducing people to new game. It's just basically showing, look, this is so simple, right? So as I mentioned, every single aspect here might be dependent on each other. Doesn't have to, but it gives us an option to do so. Then we have this activation. So this is activation initiative versus body save roll. So you can see as a small, how do you call it in English? Clepsydra. Right. It says at what initiative you're gonna be able to activate your squad. So you have and this is the part of activation which I'm really like. I don't really like the game when you have like, I go with all my army, you go with all army, because that's boring. I'm sitting there 45 minutes doing nothing and waiting for you to finish, and it's just no. I go, you go. It makes sense because effectively, well, not I go, you go. I activate one squad, you go with one squad, and so on. It makes sense because this constant interaction, but it's not strategical, not really strategical. There's a limitation kind of what you can do in terms of strategy and what you want to do with your army, and how the other squads will combine with other squads, because sometimes enemy force you to activate this squad before that one, and everything is ruined. Your plan for the turn is ruined. Here you have option. You can activate your squad at initiative 1. Initiative 1 is the fastest initiative. You get 0 IP, so effectively squad cannot do nothing, but you get a triangle. And here is when you can use special skills. So triangle means they have to burn the triangle to use a special skill. It might be weapon special skill, it might be something else which allows you to use it, on the battlefield. Then you have initiative at 3, 2 AP, so actually the squad get 2 AP, 2 action points, and those action points are used like in any other game. So 1 action point is used to move or attack and so on, so on, so on. I'll be talking about this one again when we talk about the rules. Now, not only the actions are dependent on what you get, but also they will increase your armor. So we have two type of armor. One is a body, currently called body, and the other one is normal armor. The body is basically a toughness. This is how the unit is resisting the first, heat and so on, so on. Actually, the first one was armor. The second one was body. Yep. So this is how your armor will resist the hit, right? So when you got the shot, this is whether the bullet will bounce or not. So if you activate at 1, because you have this necessary to activate the squad at 1, use a special skill, but effectively also you're gonna get additional armor. So again, we can combine those things, because on the battlefield you may think, I need this squad to survive. I have like special skill which allows me to survive even better or do something, but I need to activate quickly, and then activate with, you know, I'm gonna get 3+ armor save, which is obviously better than anything like you have like 4+ armor save, or even 5+ when you activate your squad later. Now, this is kind of risk taking, okay? Because you have to take risks, and that's what I like about it. You risk that I can activate my squad at 7 here. For instance, I'm gonna be risking because I need that 3 AP and the circle to use, because that's my plan. If I set up my dial for activation 3 and a setup, what will happen? My armor will go down to 5. So kind of I'm risking my squad that I'm gonna take more damage if the enemy activates before me and obviously make an attack against that unit, right? So this is kind of combined with risk taking, additionally with your round planning, right? Now the other side of the token is dial is the squad status. That's how they call it. So it shows you that if the squad is exposed, so if it's not in cover, it's basically exposed. You might make the squad exposed with some rules, and the body became 6+ only. If the squad is cloaked and burrow, you get 5+. Cloak and burrow give you additional rules because they're not visible on the map, but I will talk about this one. You might have a squad in cover, which give you 4+, and natural, which neutral, which is just like your standard one. Your squad start with on 5. Now here exactly the same. This portion of the dial is only to remind you about the rules in the game, and also to remind the status of the game of the unit. So you have your squad in a cover. You don't have to constantly keep going then and check whether the squad is cover, or so on. It's basically either you are in a cover or you're not in a cover. If you're in a cover, you set up this one in a cover, or you make your squad going into the cover because you want them go to ground, or they have some additional special rules allowing them to actually turn into the cover, right? So then you know straight away, okay, my cover is 4+. And again, same like with those numbers here, you may get those numbers set up differently for different faction. Yeah, you may get a faction which is very good at cover, or it's not good at cover at all, but then the neutral is quite good, and other way around. So it's a simple tool which allows you to do a lot of things. Then obviously faction specific design is going to look quite nice on the table, and so on. Now here we talk about, this is where I talk about that each faction takes damage differently, and this is what I wanted to say is about the prompts. And I will give you more examples. So the prompt squad plasma shield takes damage first. No models are removed until this shield is reduced to 0. HP is not regenerable, so you cannot regen whatsoever with prompts at the moment. And the plasma shield, but the plasma shield is, so you can regen plasma shield only. But once you start losing the wounds, you cannot regenerate the plasma because you cannot basically move beyond that level on a dial. So as you can see, we can create a great rules, easy to understand, easy to track, with no crazy complexity of looking through the rulebook. Then we have Renegades. Renegades are humans. That for them is simple. Equal HP model distribution. For instance, squad of 5 troops, 20, 34, you just remove 1. And then we have Legion, our space undeads. This is the example I told you before. So the high HP value to be removed before the squad loses the first model. For example, the zombie squad has 10 models, a total of 20 HP. It takes 11 HP to remove first model, and then obviously the squad can regenerate up to 20, but doesn't bring additional models. So this is an additional completely 3 different levels, a completely different style of play. If you want to counter the enemy, obviously when you fight against the prompts, you need to make sure to remove as much shield as possible, even to the first wound. Once you do that, you can focus on another squad, because that squad is now will be very easy to counter later. Renegades, it's just average, you just hit them hard to remove. Legion, you really have to focus on each of the squad individually because they can regain the wounds. So now even one zombie might regain a number of the wounds, but it doesn't bring models. But then you have one zombie walking with 20. But you're getting the point, right? You're getting the point that with a simple tool with 3 dials, we can make extremely great, interesting game. Okay. Right. Let's go to next slide. And then we, as I mentioned before, point of no return. A good example, none. Most of the games, they have the same problem of point of no return when it just became extremely boring because you know you have lost the game. Our take was, as I mentioned, was 50% forces available, and then player can bring on a table remaining 50% of forces. Again, I'm going to be talking about this one. This is unique solution. Then mission heavy oriented plays. X-Wing limited missions oriented plays. They do have some missions at the moment, but it's still, I think X-Wing was the prime example of competitive game which grow within the spectrum of all the people we knew. And then winning conditions based on remaining forces, so that's the kind of solution from the X-Wing. So what you have remaining, this is the points value left on the table. And CTF, I call this capture the flag. This is basically kind of missions we would like to introduce, so more about the control area terrain, or we call it flag at this stage. Narrative play, it will be only non-tournament, so we don't plan to introduce any type of missions which will be will be focusing on narrative play because they're extremely difficult to balance, right? That's how we see this wargame. I hope you see this one interesting. Okay. Yeah, the other slide to show you, this is the slide I've been showing some point, why we haven't done it before, why we haven't focused on the wargaming before, what was the problems and things. One of the problems was when we started our CNC production manufacturing in 2019, we were not there. So we have announced in 2019 we're going to be working on a wargame. And yeah, that's the difference between on the left you can see when we started, on the right when we were in 2001. We're actually much better now in 2001, but we reached the level of maximum what we can achieve in terms of CNC. So in terms of cutting models and doing CNCing miniatures and sprues, we are at the level with Games Workshop. What only left is design and the way we cut the models. Design and cutting models, it will take another 3 to 4 years to be there, but I think we are good at it. We're extremely good at it, and yeah, we're gonna be constantly increasing our quality. So that was one of the reasons why actually I put hold on it, because I wouldn't be happy with the miniatures released in 2019 or 2020, and then we would be, you know, forced to actually do it again, which we don't want, which we never wanted. So if we're going to make it, let's make it right, let's make it good, let's make it the best quality possible, because it's a wargaming. It requires much more than any other board game or anything else around it. Yeah, so that will be all for today. Yeah, 2021. Yeah, for the next one I'm gonna be touching a little bit on the rules, on the factions, and the release schedule for the new wargame. So something to stay tuned if you're obviously interested in this game. In the next few months we're going to be working on a new revised miniatures. I will explain a little bit on the miniatures and the scale, why we have to increase the scale of miniatures than we proposed initially, why we needed to remove a custom made bases. Yes, they're going to be normal bases, flat bases with some additional terrain, and there's a reason behind that one as well, pure design, but we're gonna get there in the next live chat. That is all for today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it give you some idea, about how we plan out this game, and I hope you will join me in the next couple live sessions when I'm going to be showing you more, including renders, miniatures, and so on. Okay, thanks for that, and have a good weekend.